Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Subnation Esports Roundtable. We are really excited to be presenting What's the Big Deal? How sponsorships are fueling the growth of esports. We have an incredible panelist list here with us today. And today we're going to follow the meteoric rise of esports. It is no secret at all. Blue chip brands and well-heeled financiers have taken notice of the inevitable reach and influence of the top organizations like FaZe Clan, 100 Thieves, and TSM, and athletes, creators who play for them. But what about the rest of the competing gaming ecosystem? Will these dollars flow to mid-tier teams and emerging leagues? And at what point will companies require ROIs that esports franchises may struggle to deliver? Esports continues to astound us with its growth and innovation. Now we're seeing unprecedented levels of investment and partnerships with truly unique brands. And today we're going to discuss how we got here, what's happening right now in our industry, and where we go from here. So to help me discuss how big this can all be, we have a very esteemed panel. First, I'd like to welcome John Campbell, the Director of Gaming at Herman Miller. He's been with Herman Miller for 6 years. Before that, FCB, Razorfish, where he worked on the Xbox account. Herman Miller, peerless in the furniture industry for design and style, and it is new to the gaming realm. John, welcome so much. It's great to have you here.
Thanks, Evan.
Also with us today is Ryan Musselman, Vice President of Content Partnerships at Enthusiast Gaming. He's the VP of Content Partnerships at Enthusiast and was the President of Optic Gaming from 2016 to 2019. And he has seen the growth and the changes firsthand in the esports industry. Ryan, welcome here today.
Thanks, everyone. Glad to be here.
And joining us from Las Vegas, Jordan Reese, Logitech's GM of Esports and Services, founded Astro Gaming, and known for making the Farron of gaming headsets and other devices. Jordan, it's really awesome to have you here today with us.
Great to be here. Thanks.
Yes, super amazing panel and really incredible. How everyone kind of just joined together here last minute, and we were able to put this panel together. So I'm really thankful for everyone. And please forgive me because I'm just stepping in here quick-handed. But to kick off the topic today, Jordan, I really love to start with you. Sure. Your brand has been partnering with the esports and gaming communities for years. How have things changed for you, if at all, now that there are bigger non-endemic brands in your ecosystem?
Oh, yeah. I mean, going back to the start of my involvement with esports at Astro 15 years ago, we were sponsoring teams for tens of thousands of dollars and leagues for $100,000, with rev share type stuff, but affordable amounts. And there were non-endemics to the gaming space that were starting to poke around then. The Dr. Peppers and Hot Pockets, and the price of involvement kept going up and up and up. And as it did, our ability to sponsor leagues turned into the ability to sponsor teams, turned into the ability to sponsor individuals, and it kept getting smaller. We've since clawed our way back. But without a doubt, price tags have gone up. One of the things we did to kind of hedge against that was, we acquired our own little esport production team, which I now run as a separate business unit. But that was purely a result of like, oh my God, price tags are high. We're still going to be involved, but we need a hedge against, this rising cost. And let's start creating some of our own esport content and doing it that way. But it's been a crazy rocket ship to be a part of, and it wasn't unsurprising to see it explode the way it did.
I know this question isn't on our list, but you mentioned making content. What are some of the favorite pieces of content that you've actually been involved in that include brands, and what is it that you loved about that?
Well, at Astro, again, that's 15 of my years of experience. It's all about just creating content that married with product in some sense. We were a product company, so we made products, and it's just really cool. And today Astro just announced a cool collaboration with Devin Booker where they're making limited edition glow-in-the-dark A40s that there's 60 in existence, and Book's going to be giving them away, and creating an experience around that. And I love things like that, where we're making some kind of unique product that's married with a personality, and you're creating some experience that didn't exist before. So there's countless examples of that, but that's where I think the sweet spot is just doing cool stuff, unique stuff.
Amazing. And Ryan, incredible work Enthusiast Gaming is doing. You guys have built a pretty tremendous company there. What do you think is attracting brands to esports teams the most right now? Have you seen a change over the past few years? And is there an it factor when it comes to what will make a team the most attractive to target for investments?
Yeah, it's an exciting question to think about, because it's one that always is evolving, but not evolving in terms of changing. It's just getting more and more potent with that right answer. And really what it comes down to, I think, is a strong and solid fan base. So when you're looking at how partnerships evolve from a couple years back, when maybe more than 5, I'd say I'd go with that, when esports was this big thing, and you just had to be involved with esports, right? And you knew some of the lead players, who were they in League of Legends versus Call of Duty and so on. And it had a lot to do with just being involved in the space. But that maturity came really, really fast, partly driven by the individual content creator who's just doing gaming content, but as well as those esports teams like the Phases of the world, the Optic of the world, the 100 Thieves, the TSMs, who really accelerated in building that specific content audience. And so now brands are asking less about how do I get involved in esports, and it's more so where in esports should I get involved, or where in gaming overall should I get involved? And they're getting more and more targeted against that, right? And I think now, I don't know if we can have any more esports or gaming content partnership panels where we're not discussing Web3, crypto, metaverse, and so on, because brands will begin to evolve in this space. But just to round out that question, a couple of years back, we had this really great marketing guy named Simon, and he had created this virtual clubhouse for our team on Optic. And in that clubhouse, you can access by desktop or by a headset. But we did integrate a brand into that. We integrated Turtle Beach into that, and you can actually see their branding in the kind of this Hall of Fame, this e-commerce portal. And we pitched it to a few telcos here and there, and no one really bought a bit. But I imagine if we went out now and did something along those lines, we'd have far more people coming to the table, because we were asking ourselves, how do we get someone to actually buy a headset in this virtual world? So it's going to get more and more exciting, and it's going to get more and more targeted about fans and reaching them where they are.
Yeah, look, I can't agree with you more. As we look at, I was at ESL, part of my mandate there, the senior executive advisor to the board, way back when, was, really to try and build out the non-endemic brand strategy, right? And the interesting thing in the paradigm shift, you talk about Web3 right now, and esports back then, was, we would show up and say, hey, we have 20 million people in a stream, and we have their IP addresses, and they would go, first question was, we don't believe you, right? Because they didn't understand the matrix. Second thing was, they didn't have budget categories for this, right? They didn't even have allotment to come into this area. And so this massive time of educating them and moving forward. And then you had colleges, right? And all these different places looking, now colleges, everybody's trying to build an esports organization, right? But as you look now at Web3 and how fast that's moving, and it's the next iteration, what we always said, and the reason that we started Subnation was, it's not about esports per se, right? Esports is the beginning of the next generation of consumers who are buying products online, who are spending their time online. It's going to change spots and dots. It's going to change the way we interact. And it's the future advancements of interaction and technology that bring this, to where they are. So, we, like everyone else, and we were fast moving in that space, with what we're doing with NASCAR and other companies in that Web3 space, but it's really understanding the consumer habits, right? And that's shifting, right? And not only, you may have a bunch of influencers in your team, but it doesn't mean it's going to relate to a sale. And that's the only KPI that matters for those brands, right? And so, I think it took a lot of faith for brands to move into this space early on. And I see people adopting Web3 a little bit faster. And with that, to get a big brand that isn't endemic to the space to then become endemic to the space, right? And to work their way into it. John, Herman Miller is a brand known for design excellence, right? Not necessarily for gaming. So how much of your time is spent making this connection in people's minds?
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. We spend a lot of time trying to make a connection with the consumer at the end of the day. But if you go back to design and design excellence, good design solves problems, right? And what Herman Miller does is we're a human-centered design company. So we solve problems for humans. And we really have been solving problems for people who sit over the last 100 years. Even down to, you look all the way back into the 1940s and with Ray and Charles Eames with thinking about molded plywood chairs and how do you make wood comfortable, right? And then into, when the Aeron chair was launched, it was the very first time a chair was launched without foam and fabric. And the world just rejected it at first. There's no way that's going to ever sell. And now it's, the number one most recognizable chair in the market. Even, God on The Simpsons, sits on an Aeron chair. And now as you look into the future and as we got going and started, looking at, really investing in the gaming community, the number one thing that we realized is that the community was already choosing us and we hadn't done anything. If you looked at the top, when this was probably 2 years ago, the top 100 YouTube streamers, we had 25% market share. How much did we spend? 0. If you looked at, when the Overwatch League first started, you looked at the chair on stage, it was an Aeron chair, right? And what did we do? We didn't do anything. And what we were noticing is that the community was choosing Herman Miller because there was an expectation and desire really to push beyond where they were at the time and really look for things around like quality and comfort and performance. And those were the things that we started to recognize and really be like in the right place at the right time to start thinking about now how do we invest in the community in a new and different way.
Yeah, amazing. And I've loved your products for such a long time. And when I heard you were coming into the space, I was just so excited about it. And I think that education to this audience, to this gaming audience, is just it's really important. And having them understand, right? Because as a gamer, you really do need to be comfortable when you're playing, right? And you need to have that, you see a lot of those old traditional gaming chairs, and there's been some good ones, and they serve their purpose. But now, as things are evolving and becoming more customized, the products that you guys make definitely have a design aesthetic to them that I would prefer in my own space, right? So incredible work there. And before we go into the next question, I really want to encourage everyone at home. We've got some amazing panelists here, so please text in your questions. Reach into the team if there's anything specific that you want to know about esports or their brands. We encourage you to participate with us here. Jordan, I'm going to come back to you. So how do you feel now as a big brand, with Logitech? Are esports teams expecting more from you and your brand now that bigger money than ever before is being flashed in front of them?
It's an interesting question. Are they expecting more from us? I think I would almost flip it and say we're expecting more from our partnerships, given how much we have to spend to be involved with them. So we're never going to be able to compete with some of the biggest brands out there, and which is great, right? Let every esport org and league get all the dollars they can get. We want to be involved. We're going to sponsor teams. We can't match dollar for dollar. We like to think that we could bring other things to the table. I mentioned creating content. A lot of people can do that too. But as a product company, what's critical for us is using these partnerships to help influence our product development in our view, gamers are some of the most extreme users of lots of products, even chairs. I didn't think about it, but yeah, a gamer sits in a chair for 12 hours straight. There aren't many people that do that, right? So same thing with all the things we make. So we go deep. We just launched another product, a mouse, the G303 with Shroud, I think yesterday. It's been like a 5-6 year journey with him. He was a sponsored, part of Cloud9, and now he's a streamer. But he loved this mouse and wanted to make it better because we were discontinuing it. And so invest years of development and research with this target market, i.e., the folks that we're sponsoring, and to us creating the products that they want is the key to success here. So I wouldn't say that. So I feel like it's more of this partnership than here's $1 million, put my logo on your sleeve. It's here's $1 million. Now let's do some cool shit together. Let's make cool products. Let's make new experiences, right? If we're going to sponsor a team, then let's create a little, a community ladders thing that you're going to participate in and we'll run and manage, and just something that we own together. So they're just, from our perspective, we just have to be more creative in ways to maximize the value of the investment, because it's definitely, going up.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of teams, or a lot of young, there's so many new emerging teams, right? And so we know firsthand some of the pitfalls of young guys or girls that they haven't really run businesses before, right? But they're in the esports space, and their expectations are, they see a FaZe Clan or 100 Thieves and they think they're automatically there, and they want the same amount of money, and there's overhead that they need to match, and it's that patience and that understanding of collaboration, which, if you're a team out there right now and you're listening to this, you really have to think about that, because money is one thing, and everybody of course needs it, right? But true partnership and collaboration that you can get from some of these great brands, even being tied into their marketing or their media budgets, if you have the right partnership, or into their content, it's more valuable sometimes than money. And really thinking about, how you can grow long-term business with those brands is a key thing that you should be thinking about if you're a team or a player out there, listening. And Ryan, not to put you guys, on the spot, I mean, you guys own some of the top teams in esports, right? And so was there any kind of reaction amongst your teams when they see these incredible numbers of the TSM deal or the valuation of the publicly traded FaZe Clan? What was any of the reaction from internal on those types of deals?
Yeah, I think when you see that, and then the TSM deal, right? Excitement, to say it very specifically, excitement because, like FTX, for example, go there first. Them investing, it's not just them investing into TSM. I think more broadly, we can look at this as an investment in esports, a core conviction that this audience is valuable now and will continue to be valuable in the future, with a lot of growth behind it. And that's exciting for all of us. And that deal, I think, will continue. Those types of deals will probably be an outlier for a while, but we'll see more and more of them as the audience continues to mature, grow, expand within esports, all of that blending and coming together. And then on the FaZe front, I'm particularly excited about that. I know, look, if you read a lot of the editorial articles out there, there's going to be some immediate judgment. Are they really worth that? Right now, they're just a creator-based type audience. I think you're asking the wrong question if we always conclude and stop there. It's, what does that 1 billion really turn into? How much higher does it go? I mean, Lee Trink, their CEO, has even has made a few points in some of those publishing. They've sold 1 million in mouse pads in one day with their collaboration. So it shouldn't, the influencer audience, we shouldn't bat an eyelash at. If you talk to Reed Duckshire from Night Media, he'll tell you right now there's no better time to be a creator because of the way the creator economy is scaling. Ryan Wyatt from YouTube says often many of the same things. In fact, when you look at YouTube and it's expanding and it's offering to the way you can monetize, it's now up to 10, when previously it was just ad revenue. So when you see those big announcements in conjunction with a creator economy that's expanding, we get excited about the opportunity. It forces us to be more creative, to say, how would we have won that business? What can we do to win that business? And what are those steps to getting there?
Amazing. John, the world is changing so fast, right? And what was what was not possible before becomes more possible every day, right? These interconnections, these collaborations. So, not long ago, a partnership between a high-end brand like Herman Miller or Gucci or an LV for that matter, right, would have been unthinkable. What changed to make these kinds of partnerships and the activations that come with them more organic in your opinion?
Yeah, I think partnerships and some of the collaborations that we're seeing from like Gucci and Louis Vuitton and the likes is really interesting, because what we're seeing is this convergence of culture and gaming and esports coming so close together. And I think there's a recognition there, and just like, the rest of us have talked about, I love seeing the investment from non-endemic brands in this space. I mean, at the end of the day, this is my community. I get the joy of being able to work within gaming for like both a professional reason and a selfish reason, because like it becomes more entertaining, and as a consumer of that entertainment, like I love it, right? So I love seeing these non-endemic brands get in and invest, and they're doing it, I think, in a really, really thoughtful way. A lot of them are. There are some that are doing it in a maybe not so thoughtful way, and we should all be, learning and not doing that type of investment in advertisement. But from an organic standpoint, for Herman Miller, as we get into this space, we are really taking a very specific look at who is already using our product. There's been many deals that come across our desk almost on a daily basis. Hey, partner with us. And the question is, are you sitting in Herman Miller product? No. And it will cost us this much to switch over. And we say, no, thank you. What we do is we go and we look across all the organizations, the influencers, and the people who are already sitting in our product. One of the best examples of that is Tim the Tapman. Probably one of the most successful content creators out there in the market today, and continues to be wildly successful. He chose Herman Miller almost a decade ago, right? So if you imagine someone that successful, what they had to not choose in order to make that decision, they gave up quite a bit, right? So what we did is we went, and when we created that and started that relationship with Tim, it was incredible. It didn't start with like, okay, how are you going to help? Like, what is it going to cost to make me switch? It started with, how do we now invest in you to have you be even more successful, right? It really moved from hey, let's go sponsor you, to let's come alongside and partner with you. Because as Tim becomes more successful, as his community grows, like Herman Miller will be more successful as well. And that's really, if you really want to go after organic activation and partnerships, really look for like the true organic activations where it's not like, it is truly a choice.
Now, that authenticity is so important, right? If you got somebody out there that's drinking Budweiser every day in public, and then they're going to get a Miller Lite endorsement, you want people that really enjoy and love your product, right? And I guess my question for you on that line, like a typical gaming chair, right? Some kids pick up, it's Staples, right? Because they don't really have, the wherewithal to do it. Herman Miller is a very high-end product, right? And so how do you, in that instance, looking at, some people, maybe they can or they can't afford it. I know other brand deals we've done with teams, they're even though they can afford a mouse pad, they're looking for a new setup, with their entire system. And that's part of the deals they get from the brands is, hey, I love your product. Maybe I can't afford it, or I'm just starting out. Herman Miller is a very premium brand, right? So as you're touching this ecosystem that has a tremendous level of wealth from super high-end influencers who make a lot of money to people who are just starting out, right? And I know this isn't, part of the questions that we discussed, but you said something that just really was intriguing me, the way that you answered that, right? I agree with you, and I love the authenticity of finding people who, are part of the brand. But for those people who are aspirational to the brand, what is a good way for those people to engage with the brand?
Yeah, so I think you're getting at something that's really important, and it's around accessibility, right? So we're not here, Herman Miller's not here for just some people, right? Some gamers, only people that can afford or do that. So we have to approach that in a couple different ways. One of them is a broader product portfolio, which you'll be seeing more in the future about that. And then the other area is just providing access from like helping people think through like what am I doing, right? Like after college we make this decision, right? We all go, gosh, my bed really sucks, and then you learn, wow, I spend over a third of my life sleeping, and like, wow, my sleep really impacts me if I don't sleep well. So then what we all do is we go out and we invest in a bed, right? We invest in something that's going to actually benefit our life because we spend so much time in that thing. And there's a big shift that's happening right now in the industry. And that's what Tim, if you ask Tim why he chose Herman Miller, he said, because my body hurt before. And when my body hurts, I can't make great content. I can't entertain. I can't be myself. So I invested in something that ultimately helps me like feel good, stay comfortable. And when I do that, then the rest of my life becomes more successful. So we got to really shift this idea that your gaming chair is a billboard to your gaming chair is gear, right? Just like my G903, right? Like this is gear. Like I chose this for a specific reason because it does what I need it to do. I'm not going to go in any other direction. And we're starting to see that shift happen, and that's where we're pushing or we're investing quite a bit.
I love that. That's a great response, and absolutely important. And I think it's a really important way for people to look at it. I mean, it's an investment in your health. It's an investment in your future. It's an investment in your playing, right, or your performance. And so athletes do that all the time, right? You get the right pair of sneakers or the right pair of cleats. Those are the things that help you perform better. And so that's a crucial piece to the conversation for sure. I think we're just maybe a few seconds away from a poll question coming up. Before I go into the next question and go beyond that, Subnation team, can we pull up the first poll question? Amazing. So question one, this is for the audience at home. We're going to poll you guys. We really want to understand what you think. Do you think FaZe Clan going public is a special case, or will there be more esports teams looking to go public in the future? Okay. Do we have the results in front of us already? Oh, great. So A, it's a special case. B, there may be a few. C, many more teams will go public. And Matt, I'm not seeing what the response is. Oh, okay, great. Can you? So 63% of everyone at home says that there may be a few. Answer B, right? 38% said many more will go public. Answer C. Wow, 0% said it was a special case. That is unbelievable. So that's a really incredible portion of the poll there. How about our team here of panelists? What do you guys think about this topic? Who would like to go first?
I'll jump in. So talking FaZe and their $1 billion valuation.
Yes, sir.
To me, it's, as Ryan was saying, is like, there's a lot of upside from there if they do things right? $50 million company in revenue, 20 times that in valuation. They're not profitable. They're not making anything. I don't know. When Amazon was worth $1 billion, guess what? They had 50 million in revenue and didn't make anything and lost money. And here we are 25 years later, and they're 2,000x that. Now, very different business model, but back then Amazon was selling books. Who knew what? At least most people didn't know what they become. FaZe has everything in front of them. They're not an esport team. They're a fashion lifestyle brand. That's a massive industry. And if they figure out how to monetize it correctly and stay relevant and cool, which they've got that model down. I mean, they have a brand and they can keep cycling people in and tapping people who are cool and letting go people who aren't and just keep that alive. You know, they've got the future in front of them. And from what I've seen in the past, I'm a believer. I think $1 billion is a slam dunk, right? $1 billion's like, that's the new million. That's nothing, right? Show me $1 trillion. That's a big number.
Exactly.
There's 6,000, $7,000 billion companies out there, and I wouldn't recognize 98% of them. So FaZe is worth $1 billion. I'd buy that all day.
Yeah, I think what you'll continue to see is this growing infrastructure holding type company. Not that they don't exist already, they do in abundance in all types of industries, but contextual to gaming, it's reached that point, not an inflection point, but an opportunistic point where everyone is going to go out and do this. We're very similar in that nature at Enthusiast Gaming. We were doing that at Infinite when we bought Optic and a whole host of other teams, and it had a slant more towards the team side of the business and then what you could build from those audiences. FaZe has a very powerful audience to be able to do this. And just another thing to consider here, like look at 100 Thieves and their Gucci collaboration. I know we'll probably get into that later, but they did 200 limited edition of those bags at I think it was 24, 2,500 each, and they sold out. So, I mean, this audience, I would love to see the data and what that audience, that buyer was. But think about this audience here with someone like a FaZe that's really, really getting ready to scale. And a guy like Lee Trink, who I think is doing an exceptional job of bringing in the right music partnerships and taking that experience and building a strong executive team. The acquisitions, I'm excited to see what they do with that $100 million to go out and buy these different companies. What does this conversation look like 1 year from now with what they've acquired and so on, assuming everything goes through? Will be a very fun conversation to have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's an amazing time for that. And, it's been a long, slow time coming, and you've had some really big legacy brands and teams, the Team Liquids of the world, who's one of the most winning teams out there, right? Who've been around for a while, and they've done some amazing things as well. But what FaZe has done in the lifestyle category and what 100 Thieves is doing is really separating them from the pack. And look, I think that's a bigger topic, and it touches on esports, and it's not on our list of questions, but from everything that we have seen, and we've had these arguments, right? Because we went to Adidas very, very early on when I was at ESL. We had these debates with their future division of whether esports athletes were really athletes back then. It was a question, right? Which was a fair question because they were into performance, right? And so we would say, well, is Dale Earnhardt Jr. not an athlete? He sits in a car and drives around in a circle, all day long. Or does the catcher from the New York Yankees, he just squats, right, and he hits the ball too? But where does this come from, right? And now you look at brands themselves, and we'll use an Adidas, which is one of my favorite brands on the planet. But we'll use that for as an example. Are they an apparel company anymore, right? Is Logitech making hardware? Is Herman Miller making furniture, right? If you look at all of these brands right now and where the world is going, and you look at Web3, right? Adidas has influencers, so they're in the influencer space. They have to make content, so they're in the media space. They have to make experiences. And in order for any brand in the world to work, right, and you have to have separate divisions for that, and they're all out looking for everything. Every single company now, and especially with Web3, really is its own media conglomerate, right? And FaZe, which started out as an esports team, has taken those paths to make content, right? To make apparel, to make experiences. And really that's the new DNA for every company. We used to get accused all the time of having a lack of focus early on because we looked at all of these different areas, but because brands would come to us to execute all of those things for them, hey, we need to be live at the Super Bowl, or we need to, put Justin Bieber on the roof for New Year's Eve, whatever it might be. We have to do that with a very high degree of accuracy and excellence to deliver, for the biggest brands in the world. And as you see that, I bring this back, over to you, Jordan, in what your company is doing. Do you agree with that? I mean, do you see that, you're not just making hardware, right? You're an entire media company all onto yourself to a certain degree, right?
Oh, 100%. I mean, it's something that I've believed in forever. I forget a book I read like 30 years ago, The Experience Economy, where it's, not about making something, it's about creating experience that makes people want to, spend money to enjoy it. And, we built, I'm not going to say we were the first, although I think we were, I don't know, 10 years ago, the head of our kind of social media team, this guy Thaddeus, was like, we need to start building a stream team, right? And we started getting streamers and built the Astro stream team. Now it's a collective, it's evolved, and it's like you got to start harnessing influencers, helping them create content, right? We started onboarding video producers and content creators and had our influencers, and kind of what FaZe is doing, just on a small level, our own little group. And without a doubt, you got to do all of that, or engage with agencies who do it really well for you, right? If you can't do that yourself, is the other path. But without a doubt, you need it all, in my opinion, these days.
Yeah, and John, at Herman Miller, and again, I'm going off script. I'm sorry, I can't help myself. But do you see Herman Miller in the future creating, as they're building their experiences or building content around? And sometimes, a lot of brands go right on the nose. It's like, hey, I have a chair that is a massage chair, right? And I'm just going to show people, or you integrate it in a way into another environment where it's being used and utilized, where it's organically used. Do you see Herman Miller taking any advancements into building their own experiences or their own content around support of the brand, almost like an Adidas would, or some of those other lifestyle brands?
Yeah, I think the short answer is absolutely. We talk a lot about the uncomfortable truth. The uncomfortable truth is that the world doesn't need another gaming chair. FaZe gets this. The world doesn't need another esports organization. And when you sit with that uncomfortable truth, it really then starts to push you in a new direction. And it pushes you in this direction of like, no, like, we're here to create a lifestyle, right? We are here at Herman Miller to really focus on the gaming environment. We're here to optimize every part of the way that a player engages with the game, with any kind of computer interaction. And the future is definitely not just a chair. It's definitely not just furniture. It's experiences. It's showing a lifestyle. It's creating a new lifestyle that people want to be a part of, in a movement that people want to join in and invest in. And in addition to that, it's also like, for us, like, we want to go way beyond product. We see ourselves as a performance company. I've said this to a handful of people, and Seven, you've already talked about Adidas, but I'll throw the other big one out there. But like, what Nike is to the runner, Herman Miller is to the gamer. And we have a really unique opportunity to move this industry. And again, going back to my selfish desire to be more entertaining, right? I want players to play as long as they want, not as long as they can, right? And right now in the world, especially in esports, it is staggering to see these players dropping out at 22, 21, 23, and they're not dropping out because they want to. They're dropping out because they can't go any further, right? They can't practice as long due to pain here, pain in your lower back, and pain in your arm, right? And we, right now in esports, I'm getting a little off your question, but it's kind of a next person up mentality. And I believe we should move away from that. I believe there's an investment that needs to be done in longevity of players to increase entertainment value and essentially ROI for esports organizations. So back to your question, are we just furniture? No. Experience, performance, environment, well beyond just the gaming chair.
Yeah, amazing. And look, at some point, I'd love to talk to you about that, because I absolutely see it with Herman Miller. I really I get it, and that's what we do a lot here. We live by this philosophy that, our co-founder Doug Scott brought in, called the 5 C's, right? Where, everything that we build our company around is around culture, right? And the next C is content. We look at content from physical experiences or visuals or, a product, and how we integrate that. So that's content. We do that at such a high level that it creates a conversation within a community that leads to commerce, right? And it circles all around because you're collecting the data that goes through it. And the way that we see and where we try and live, and this is important, for those people at home trying to think about, how do I reach a brand? How do I connect to a brand, right? That's the purpose of this call. Where are we going in esports, right? Where we live is, brand, consumer, physical to digital, and curating everything that comes in the middle of that, right? And when you at home are looking to interact with these amazing brands, a Logitech, a Herman Miller, whoever the brand is that you might be talking to, you really need to think about, what's the quality of the product that you're putting out there? What's the reach that you have that you can offer? Because at the end of the day, your relationship with a brand, the KPI that matters is on authenticity and credibility and morality, right? Those are important things. You have to be in alignment with that. But for the brand, the KPI that matters most is sales, right? They have to sell their products. Otherwise, they don't stay in business to do the things that they need to do, right? And so as you're at home, you have to think about, how do I add that value, right, to my team, to my effort in what I create, and how do I do that in a unique way and in a way that is at a level that builds my audience and my credibility. And if you do that right, you may be at a starting point, but if you continue to do that every day, win by win, credibility by credibility, it starts to move. So we have a question here from audience. Can I see that again, please? Because it went away. So Gil Lang, VP of Integrated Marketing and Brand Strategy at Studio 71. How are you there, Gil? I need that again, please. It just went away too quick for me. Obviously, classic gaming isn't gaming any longer. How do you sell this vertical to non-endemic brand partners? Who would like to answer that question?
Great question. So the question is, how do you convince non-endemics that they need to be involved in this space? Is that the question?
I believe that was what I took from it. Everybody here on the panel, yes?
Because to me, and I think maybe John mentioned or Ryan too, it's just like, if you want your brand to get exposure to the younger demographic, right? The sub 20, sub 25-year-olds, gaming is one of the most popular activities in the world that they undertake in. And it's a very authentic way for brands to get in front of them, is by, enabling people to pursue their passions. There happens to be a massive number of folks on this planet, 1 billion, 2, I don't know, whatever the number is, that gaming is a passion for them. And so to me, the numbers are there, right? If a brand is convincing that gaming is a good place to get awareness, then they probably don't get it. So now, how does a non-endemic authentically participate is a much harder question, because it's easy for us at Logitech or John Herman to make a great product that makes gaming better because we're making hardware. How does someone who doesn't have any way to improve the experience of gaming do something authentic? That to me is fascinating. That's a question that a lot of non-endemic brands need to solve, and there are lots of people that can help you solve that too. But that to me is the interesting question.
Yeah, I think just to add to that too, there's been the safe entry points, right? I'll get aligned with a creator, a streamer, maybe an esports team or some content initiatives. But then there are those other brands that ask themselves, what's a piece of esports, a swim lane that I can own that other brands aren't playing in too extensively, or at least even if they are, it's still relevant to our brand in a big way. And Jordan, I think the stuff you guys have been doing with Chipotle this year might be a good example of that in your Chipotle Challenger series and so on. And even years before that, I was speaking with a popular QSR brand that was asking that very question. We can go all these different directions. It's not a matter of if we want to get in, but what is something that we can own that other brands don't? So when you help a brand align with that, we help them answer that question, and you show them why that audience is potent enough to help fulfill the answer, I think you're onto something, and that usually leads to a very creative solution. Even if they just take a first step in and it's a very small spend, it still can lead to much larger opportunities across the board.
Yeah, I would almost think of it as we're doing an interesting activation for a brand. I guess the best analogy would be, I still remember that the moment we hired our first like social media manager, whatever, 10 years ago, it's like, oh, this needs to be something we need to put a body on, because they need to be posting and engaging with the community and building the social media community. Now we're seeing brands realize, oh, they need a gaming community manager. And we're starting to marshal the grassroots of the gaming world, which is massive, to create kind of like always on gaming experience that the brand is helping fuel, right? Here's a brand that doesn't make any gaming products. They have some money, they'll put some prize pool in there, but we're creating like an always on place where someone can come and compete and win some money and product and prizes. And the brand, we've done before and after studies, it's like the people participating have a much higher opinion of the brand and think great of it, because guess what? The brand is enabling them to do something they love and to do it and make a little money and win some prizes. And so it's not overly complex, but it takes, some thinking and someone ideally on your team or the agency you work with to really understand what an authentic gaming experience is. And to me, it is like, what can we own that people are going to enjoy doing, and ascribe some of that enjoyment to our brand as the facilitator.
Amazing. So I have our second poll question here for the audience. Do you feel that brands like Louis Vuitton, League of Legends, and Gucci, 100 Thieves, are getting a good ROI in gaming and esports? This is the question. Please, everyone, tally your questions in there, or your answers. And here they're coming back. So 83% say that yes, they are getting a good ROI, and 17% say no. I'd really be interested to find out why people think it's no or yes. Does anyone here want to comment why you think it's yes or no? Do you agree with those polling results?
I think it's a yes, because gamers, simply put, are the consumers of the future. Not exclusively, but there's a large army of them. And that's partly why I wanted to mention what we talked about earlier, that Gucci collaboration. It's sold out, right? And so you can look at different publications that say, what audience are they trying to tap into here? Because a $2,400 bag, you don't go around buying those things, and it was a limited edition run, but it did sell out. So I think, yes, they are. And where we need to get better as professionals in the gaming space is telling that story of ROI, making sure we're measuring it properly, communicating it properly, and then tracking to see how it blooms from the initial partnership and beyond. So the more you get brands like, we'll use 100 Thieves on the Gucci side of it, they're a gaming and lifestyle brand that has a play in esports, but they have this slant towards being really, really good at the lifestyle side, not just with someone like a Gucci, but also on the peripheral side with that High Ground acquisition. Now they're kind of doing, John, you spoke to this perfectly a few moments ago. Now these keyboards, which traditionally, if you like Nadeshot's quote in that release, was traditionally keyboards were just different things here and there that were a part of your gaming setup. But now they're more so an extension of your brand choices, your lifestyle choices, and so on. So we'll see more and more of that. And I think the phases of the world, 100 Thieves of the world, all of them will be able to really flex on that with their audience, offer something more premium and more relevant that does drive the right ROI for the right brand.
Oh, amazing.
I would add to that a little bit, and obviously not knowing the details, I have no idea what the I was. I don't know what they paid for it. But Gucci, for example, it was great to me. I thought it was just like, oh, wow, that's amazing. And everyone took notice. But now it's on the brand too to continue that, right? I don't think any return comes from these one-off things, right? You got to just keep following up and make a commitment to a space for, if not forever, for years and years and years, and to remain involved, or else, you're yesterday's news, and everyone knows how the news cycle works. It's like, you got to keep following it up. You don't have to keep spending, ridiculous amounts of money, but you've got your entryway. Now go through the door and stay and hang out for a while.
Yep. Yeah, I always find it interesting, and this is, a question to the brands out there. When there's so many emerging teams, more so than ever, right? And you have a limited amount of budget that you can bring into partnerships. Do you see that from our perspective as we look into the marketplace, or myself? I always get a little bit concerned about that, right? Because you see the FaZe clans can rise up, the 100 Thieves are rising up, but how many other teams out there that are doing good work having a difficult time, right? Finding that right little niche. And with more and more and more teams, just like in the music industry, when the Beatles came out, they were on the Ed Sullivan Show. Everybody in the world got their music from one spot. So instantaneously, overnight, they had a ton of fans, right? Now you've got Spotify. I started my life out as a recording artist, and you know what I mean? So for me, it was like, back then, yeah, you still had a little bit of a chance. Today, everybody's cousin is an amazing musician. People go on American Idol and The Voice, right? And it's not like, oh my God, you're in a band, right? It's like, oh yeah, so what? As you get more and more and more and more and more teams and little clubs coming out there, how much more difficult does it take for these newer teams that are coming out to grab market share, to get brand money? And from a brand perspective, right? How do you look at disseminating or doling out, some of those monies that help support these great rising teams? So what's the solution for them? Because influencers want to be paid, right? They need to eat. How does that economy for them work? I mean, I'm curious in everybody's perspective. How does a new and emerging team compete in today's market from a brand perspective?
I think it's a good question. I've talked to a handful of smaller teams like that, and I won't be able to answer it specifically, but the one thing that I have noticed is that they are solely based on brand revenue, right, or sponsorship revenue. My advice would be very quickly try to build a business model that does show future profitability, right? Go get funding and really create a foundation where you can go invest yourself. And instead of relying on other people to invest in you in order to get your business to be, or other brands to sponsor you so that you can stand up. Because just like Jordan mentioned, there's unfortunately a handful of brands out there that kind of dip their toe in and pull out real quick, right? They're just like, I'm going to try it and then I'm going to leave. And if your model is set up in a way where it's solely relying on that revenue stream, and you have brands that are coming in and out, that's a really unstable way to get started. So to me, I would go back to that uncomfortable truth. The world doesn't need another esports org. Well, how are you going to be different? Go sell yourself.
Yeah, I think that's the point. You've got to be great at something, right? And you got to pick your lane. It could be your gaming skills, right? You want to work, get your establishment self-established that way, or it could be your streaming and influencer skills, but you have to do something better than everyone else, right? There's just too much competition. I will say I like it, right? The Ed Sullivan model, it's like, great, there's one kingmaker. Good luck making it, right? There's just no way that that one person or one show is going to be able to discover all the talent. Now all the talent's bubbling up, but guess what? Now it's a super competitive field, and if you don't excel at something, you're not going to make it, and that's just a sad truth. But the sooner you realize that, the better. Just focus on something else, right? Everyone can't be a professional gamer. Everyone can't be a professional streamer. I'm excited for there to be a faster feedback loop so people don't spend a decade banging their keyboard thinking they're going to go pro. But pick what it is you think you're better than anyone else at, and see if you are. And if you aren't, try something else. Quick, fast fail, right? There's a lot to be said for failing fast and moving to something new. So maybe that's a little.
I like that.
One of the things I was going to say to this, for the newer teams, just to kind of summarize it, and I think you guys are doing a great job of touching on this. My advice coming from the team side would be content first, esports second. If you look at some of the more popular teams out there, FaZe is a great example. They even did this in their 1 billion announcement, their public announcement. They started off doing trick shots. They got known for one thing in the community, and they were the best at it. And that proved to build their very foundation, just like Jordan was saying. Wherever you're going to excel there. I think you'll build an audience faster. I think this is proven time and time again. You will build an audience faster if you focus on content first and then you get esports right second. I'm not saying don't do esports at all, but if you are a team, right, focus on getting content right first. The good players will come later. They will come later. So get content right first.
I love that. I love that. And, before, we kind of wrap up a little bit, I got a challenge out there for all the brands. I always thought about this when I was a musician. And, for my first career, I was signed to Atlantic Artists. And the second time I did it independently. And independently, I did it with a brand partner behind me that we had a great partnership. And they funded us and we delivered for them. We went to every radio station around the world, around the nation, and we delivered an ROI by showing up, carrying their brand, saved them costs on what they would have paid of radio in those local markets, and they had more genuine integration, right? So my challenge out there, and I always think about this, right? As with a brand, you have power. You have media dollars you're spending. You have access, right? So the interesting thing is taking some of these teams and brands from a business perspective, finding the right bets to make under your wing and having some equity in them, right? Helping them to grow, but they become an ongoing asset of ROI for you as you're looking at what you're growing, right? I think that's a really interesting model because, if every brand took one, they'd be able to elevate that brand or that esports brand to a very significant level, even if it was only within their own ecosystem. And as we as Subnation look at Web3 and we look at the metaverse and these incredible things that we've been doing there, we see each brand having their own decentralized ecosystem, right? It's a very important thing. And it takes the problem with big corporations, and we've all been at them and independently, is that those type of decisions are complicated to make because you've got a lot of stakeholders to make them, right? But the power that a brand has and the need for a brand to be thinking about that now themselves. You used to be able to make a business that would last for 50 years, 100 years, based on the speed of technology and Moore's law and the growth of population on the planet and all these disparate influences. You need to be reinventing yourself every 12 months, as a brand, maybe even sooner. You got to be looking at what technology is happening and really owning your own. I used to just go to spots and dots in television and look at where that's eroding down to, right? So really owning your own audience and your own ecosystem is really, really important. And if you're at home and on the other end of that and you're just starting out and today's the first day you decided to do something, right? Think about how you can build your own ecosystem from the ground up. What can you do to control your own universe locally, digitally, globally? And there's a lot of great brands out there that need that collaboration. And so I've really enjoyed this panel list today. If there's any final comments from anyone here, love to hear them.
It was awesome. I really appreciate it. And to just put a final point on what you were saying, if you're going to try to make it here, make sure you love what it is that you're doing, because if you do make it, you're going to be doing this now. And I don't say that lightly, because it's making content is a grind, and you got to pursue your passion. So make sure it's really deep down in your heart.
True.
Yeah, I've enjoyed this a lot, and we talk a lot at Herman Miller, turning passion into purpose, and that's what we're doing is really just taking this split. I mean, we're a team full of gamers, and it's like we love this industry more than anything, and we want to turn it into a purpose and add value everywhere we can.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you, John, Jordan, Ryan. Amazing topic today. I look forward to breaking some bread with you guys in the future. And everybody at home, thanks for joining us here at Subnation Roundtable. We'll see you again soon.
Thanks, Evan.
Thank you.